Greetings and welcome to this final episode of season two. I cannot believe we have gone through so many beautiful guests, so many different topics. And if you have missed anything from season one or season two, go back in, check it out. Today, we're going to talk about the ending of things, which seems like a perfect way to end season two. So we've all been in the end of something, right? And for me, generally, when I get to the end, I hang out there for a while. So I'm going to share with you today, kind of recognizing you're at the end. How do you do that? And how do you navigate in a way that just doesn't jump into the next thing? Because what I've realized in my own ending right now, kind of changing up my business, changing up a lot of things in my life is that my tendency in the past was to just hop in, throw myself into the next thing. Why? Because then I miss all of the discomfort. I want to skip over the grieving process. When something is ending, it's really easy to not want to feel and honor and offer gratitude and respect. And it doesn't even have to be a problem, right? So, for example, there's a lot of things right now moving and shaking in my business. And it's not because anything that I created before, anything I was doing before was bad, wrong. Oh my gosh, it needs to be upended. However, I just keep getting these nudges. So, how do you know when something is ending? Okay, for me, there was a lot of signs and symbols and messages, and you name it. I've been pulling the death card and the tower card, which I know a lot of us can be like, oh, those are scary tarot cards. I don't believe in scary. I believe in information. And I believe that love is always guiding us. Our guides are always guiding us. So nobody's trying to say, hey, this horrible thing is going to come right at your doorstep. It's like, can you honor that the way you've been living, the way and who you are is coming to an end? And when I got divorced in my first marriage, I kind of sat with the ending of that for about a year and a half before I left. And a lot of people were surprised when I did leave because I hadn't talked about it. And I was in generally a pretty good state of mind. Not perfect, obviously. It was messy, messy, messy. However, it was very different than if I just was like, oh, last week I decided I'm done and boom, I jump right into that. I really done a lot of processing in my own mind and grieving and being in the truth and feeling things. Again, when you are closing a chapter of your life, whether it's a job, a marriage, a relationship, somewhere where you've lived, a town that you've loved, right? There are things that we can do to totally be present with kind of the transitional energy, kind of in that space of, I find it kind of like an in between state because we know things are ending. Things aren't really quite yet beginning, but we're kind of in this like waiting around period where, again, most of us, like I just mentioned, want to skip into the next shiny thing. I always want to jump into the next shiny thing. It's beautiful, feels good. It distracts me from, ah, this, like, again, if you get a beautiful arrangement of flowers. And right, the flowers are so beautiful. They're so beautiful. I have a hard time sometimes throwing away a bouquet, even after it's kind of lived its life, which again, hey, you can hold on to dry flowers all you want, but it symbolizes to me this like willingness to let it go. And what I realized over the last, I don't know, 18 months where I'm tending to these big endings in my life is that I needed to put in some type of rituals into the closing. Really spend time saying, I honor, I learn, I have all this wisdom, that self, that life, that job, whatever it is, has offered so much to me, for me, with me. And I am ready to, again, bless it, offer it gratitude, and step into that next space. And I think sometimes we can hang out. I know I do. One of the things that I think keeps me kind of lingering in an ending is I don't know exactly where I'm going yet, right? There aren't marching orders that are all laid out, 5-year plan, do this, do this, do this. It's not how I'm wired. It's not how my intuition works. My intuition, very present moment. It's like, ooh, here's a breadcrumb. And so, as we are going through this, right, we want the whole plan because we want to feel safe to close something and say goodbye. And then to leap in, and I don't mean leap like big gesture, but again, take that energy of ours into the uncertainty, into the unknown. It can be very, very scary and it can feel unsafe. We don't necessarily feel super safe in uncertainty, in the things that we haven't figured out yet or know yet, right? Not that I'm in for figuring life out, just being in life. And so we've been talking a lot for years about living from our heart, using our head in service of. As we end, I do believe there's lots of things astrologically, individually, collectively, you name it, that are coming to an end right now. The way we are working in the world, the way we're living and breathing in the world is shifting. And so making a list, putting it out, going for a beautiful walk out in the woods or somewhere in a beautiful space, and then offering that up to Mother Nature in thanks and gratitude. All of these things, right? I honor this season. And I also am ready for the new one to begin. And there's going to be a little bit of like crossover. There's not usually some finite point where we end something and then it's like, oh yeah, done, completely in a bow, neat in the corner, and what have you. It doesn't, life doesn't work. So there's bleeding into parts as we kind of find our footing into the new space. And as we do that, we really are, to me, like one of the biggest things is our own self-care as we are taking care of our nervous system, because nervous system gonna flip out. I've had the biggest fears showing up lately because I'm ready. I'm ready to step in. Actually, I've already kind of taken some steps in there. And then my nervous system goes, "Oh, what are you doing? Why are you leaving this beautiful thing?" And what have you. Again, that's part of the process. This acclimation into these new spaces and the acclimation of letting the thing be done is going to be a process of messy flailing around a bit. And it doesn't mean you're making a wrong decision. It is absolutely your body expanding, your spirit, right? Your whole self expanding to create capacity for this new season, whatever it is. And that capacity doesn't just turn on and you're like, okay, I'm perfectly aligned, I'm perfectly in it. It's like, no, it's probably why whenever if you have ever been in real life with me, I need like 2 or 3 goodbyes in order and if you've ever probably watched me on a video, you've seen it too. It's like I kind of set the stage that I'm closing, and then there's a little something there before I completely feel ready to take a proverbial, like again, the leap is also the closing as well. And when we know that about ourselves, when we know what feels really good, and again, when you're going into somewhere new, you're not going to know all of that yet. You know what's good now in this moment. So, keeping pieces of that as you kind of, again, traverse the newness, there's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with holding on to something that feels very much grounding and anchoring. And I will say, as I always say, our spiritual practices, whether you're a walker out in the woods, whether you meditate, whether you work out, move your energy that way, whatever you're doing to ground yourself. Because what I've also found about endings is a lot of times when we're in these states, we need it to be quieter in the outside world because a lot of influence, a lot of other people's opinions. And again, I don't mean that they're, maliciously telling us what to do and, it feels bad, but just people want to offer support and help sometimes. And you're going to have to be the judge of this. Sometimes it can kind of get all tangly. I know for me, especially, I've got very clear breadcrumbs about what my business and what things are going to happen next. And then people are giving me ideas and offering things, and I love it. And then it's getting me like, oh, I should probably follow that instead of following what's inside my own, my own knowing. So I realized recently, okay, I've got to put that out a little bit further out. I have to not ask, not ask the people that I love what they think right now, because I already know what I want to do. And there's this muscle that we're building, right? When we're transitioning, and it's the trust muscle. Do I trust myself to be the best guide? For me, my whole life is always bumped up against other people know how to do it better than me. So I need to listen to that. I'm somehow going to do it wrong or mess it up. And so all of that comes up, it bubbles up. Of course it does. Whenever we're in new vulnerable spaces, your top two, three fears, things that you bump into in this lifetime are going to show up. And you're like, yay! It means you're making progress. It means that you're creating movement. When those fears say, oh, nope, we want to keep you back in this space, you're starting to break out and be in the newer places. And so I don't think there's anything wrong with that. It's like, can you sit in the discomfort of having those fears show up and not let them just drag you down, but say, of course you're here. And of course, I am going to meet that part of me where I am with love and compassion and support. Can't drag yourself into a new season. You really, I guess you can. I probably have done it many times. However, if we wanted to be lighter and easier and more fun and more in just beautiful, trusting alignment with ourselves, dragging those parts doesn't work so well anymore. I did it for years. So it's like, can we rewire a big transformative moment or moments? Because it's not just one thing, right? Can we rewire it in a way that nurtures our nervous system, is befriending our fears along the way. Like, our fears can be, as Liz Gilbert says so eloquently in Big Magic, they're going to be in the car, just don't give them the GPS. And where do we make space for our own heart, soul, guidance, whatever you want to call that? It's also very embodied. There's a physical embodiment to your soul. It's not separate. When you are listening to your body and what and how it is responding to the things you're thinking about, then you really allow yourself to be in a type of living. Again, this is the big shift: embody, soul, human living. And there's going to be, again, this vulnerability that comes with it, as there always is. So I like to anchor into a couple, maybe some mantras. I trust the next step will be easy and clear. I honor that endings can be messy, and I'm still kind of, again, one step forward, one step back. And there's nothing wrong. I don't have to fix myself in order to be moving in a way that feels really gentle and really loving for myself, right? Hustle culture, the grind, all of it. Hop to one thing, to one thing, to one thing, to one thing. Of course, because then we don't ever have to actually process our whole physical experience, nor are we actually probably listening to what the guidance system that we have, that is the most powerful thing that we have. I know it feels like everybody else knows better. It's a lie. It's not true. There's beautiful guidance and advice and things out there that we can absolutely take from our outer world. However, it should never replace your compass, your heart led wherever you're going, because wherever you're going is probably not going to make most sense to most anybody else, because it's not their journey, it's not their path, it's yours. And can we be brave enough? We get to do this. We get to be brave enough to play. And again, if we take a step and it's like, ooh, what happened there? There's always the ability to pivot and choose again. Now, I do find that as we start to get into the right, this transformative new space, there are choices. Like, can we commit to, okay, I am in this space and I don't know exactly, but I am committing to being here and following the next nudge. When you do that, right, you're also saying to yourself, okay, I honor this close. I honor whatever this has been. And I am like, again, it's this letting go process. You're not like, "Ooh." And even if you are, "Ooh," sometimes, because I am, there are definitely moments in all this when your business is kind of melting down and giving you marching orders for something very new and very different. Of course, held on to the ledge with all my fingertips and said, no, 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 no. And years ago, I would have said, just somebody push me off, push me off. And what I have found in the last 18 months, going slower, coming back into my own body and my own systems even more expansively, is that like that isn't like that doesn't feel good. I can do it, but it just doesn't feel good. So there's like the messiness that is discomfort. And then also like your own added, like, what are you doing that just is like, it's not a good add on. It's like people would say suffering is optional, right? It creates more resistance or what have you that just kind of keeps you in a swirl that's not necessary. So, like, it's like deciphering, okay, is this part of my process feeling this? And here's what I have found in terms of like, how do you know the difference, Stace? Is like if you're all up in your head and you've got da 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 da, whatever it is, that's usually means that we're in some kind of like longer swirl because you're not feeling when you're having a long monologue with yourself, right? You're in some kind of space and mindset where the mind and the fear is trying to convince you of something or talk you in or out of something. And I know if you are listening to this, you're a change agent on this planet. So we're here to disrupt the status quo. We're not here to do it the same way. And so each of us is going to have this process each time we do a little bit more expansion. And I do believe, at least for me, it has gotten easier over the years. I look back at my younger selves, and of course, I'm like, of course I did it that way. That makes so much sense. It didn't feel safe. I didn't know how to be completely embodied. I don't even know if I know now. I just know that I can be in an embodied state completely. Absolutes, you know me. I'm not one to say that there's many absolutes on this planet because in each experience that we live, in each iteration of our own new chapters, we remember more and more our gifts, who we are. We're like, as I always say, that thought amnesia, right? Where we bumped our heads on the way, on the way into Earth school or Earth living. And we forgot. We forgot we have so much power and we have so much bravery. We have all the trust. Like, again, the trust, the soul does not question. The soul just has this knowing. And so we add this little human filter to it that is like, wait, what? Because, and here's what I do think, and you can please challenge me, but I do believe that it's because otherwise, if we just had it all planned out, what's the point? If everything just, oh, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do this, that's a very boring life. I want a colorful, lived in, beauty soaked, joy filled, like feel it all. Like if like life had an orgasm, like the life orgasm, that's what I want. So it includes all of this along the way. And I do, as I said, I think the more we practice this, the easier it becomes. And we don't have to make it work and hard and all of the struggle that transformation has kind of surrounded itself with. Let's make transformation guided by inspiration and joy. And again, that lit up feeling that really points us in the direction of whatever we're meant to be doing. That, like I said, probably doesn't make a whole lot of sense because other people are doing it differently. Hey, That's how everything in the world got created. Somebody had an idea that a lot of them had nothing to do with anything else, right? That other people are doing. And that is part of this beautiful work of art that is this life experience, like lived expression, lived art. That's what we're doing. All right, my friends, that is it for season 2. I have so many new things in store for season 3. I cannot wait. I will keep you posted. If you love this episode, please drop us a line or review. We would love to hear it. And pop over to my Facebook group, Everyday Enchantment, where we're always talking about these things and more. And I will see you very soon in season 3. Woo! And that's a wrap. Thank you so much for tuning in. Get all the delicious details and links we've mentioned in this episode in the show notes below. If you'd like to chat about this episode or learn more about how to work with me, come visit me in my private Facebook group, Everyday Enchantment, or check out my website, staceyandon.com, where you can find out more about my Leap of Faith coaching, my Map Makers group program, and the School of Intuitive Magic. Plus a special shout out for all the production and editing of this show by Richard Wilmore. That's it for now, love. Here's to living a life enchanted. See you soon.